The subway station had been closed for decades, a forgotten relic beneath the city streets. Graffiti streaked the walls, and the smell of damp concrete filled the air. Yet despite warnings from locals, I found myself drawn there, curiosity overriding caution. I descended the cracked stairs into the darkness. The faint hum of the city above was replaced by a deep, oppressive silence. The platform stretched before me, lit only by flickering, broken fluorescent lights. Rusted benches sat empty, and old signs swung slightly in the draft, their lettering peeling and faded. At first, everything seemed still. The air was heavy with the scent of mold and decay. Then I heard it, a distant rumble, low and rhythmic, echoing through the tunnels. A train was coming, but there should be none. The station had been closed for years. My pulse quickened as the sound grew louder, reverberating off the tiled walls and echoing endlessly through the tunnels. I stepped closer to the edge of the platform. The rumble resolved into the metallic screech of wheels on rails. Lights flashed briefly in the distance, reflecting off the shiny rails, and then I saw it, a train, empty, moving toward the station as if guided by some unseen force. The windows were dark, no passengers, no driver, just a black void inside. I froze. The train slowed as it reached the platform, doors sliding open silently. A cold draft swept over me, carrying whispers too faint to decipher. I stepped back instinctively, flashlight trembling in my hand. The train sat there, doors open, waiting. I could hear the soft clack of metal echoing, longer than it should have. The emptiness was almost suffocating. Tentatively, I approached the train. The platform seemed to stretch, elongating unnaturally. Shadows moved along the walls, independent of the flickering lights, stretching and twisting. I caught glimpses of figures in the darkness, just shapes, formless, watching from the end of the tunnel. Each step I took was mirrored in echo, delayed, amplified, as if the station itself was alive, observing me. I decided to explore further, moving down the platform. The next tunnel was darker, deeper. The distant echo of the empty train followed me, repeating its metallic screeches in a distorted rhythm. The air grew colder, damp clinging to my skin. I could feel the weight of the underground pressing down, the shadows stretching from corners, shifting silently as I moved. Then another train arrived. Same sound, same emptiness. Doors slid open, inviting, or perhaps warning. I glanced inside. Nothing moved, yet I felt an oppressive presence, a sensation that I was being watched from every darkened corner. Whispers fluttered at the edges of my hearing, overlapping with the echoes of the trains, forming words I could almost understand. Stay, listen, never leave. I stumbled backward, heart racing. The tunnels seemed endless. Every corridor I passed looked the same, yet subtly different. Rusted signage now pointed in directions that made no sense, and shadows clung to every wall, following, watching. The trains were patient, silent, endless. They came and went without explanation, empty, yet somehow aware. A faint noise from above caught my attention, footsteps. No, impossible. The station was abandoned. Yet the sound persisted, echoing off the vaulted ceilings. I swung my flashlight toward the stairs. Shadows coalesced near the edges, twisting and stretching along the walls. The station was alive, or something in it was, observing, waiting. I realized with growing dread that this place didn't follow normal rules. The trains weren't mere vehicles, they were extensions of the station's will, controlled by whatever haunted this subterranean maze. Every arrival, every echo, every whisper was intentional. The empty trains were more than transportation, they were vessels of observation, tools for ensnaring anyone curious enough to enter. I took a deep breath and moved toward the end of the platform. Another train arrived, sliding silently into the station, doors opening with a hiss. A rush of cold wind swept over me, carrying voices layered over the metallic echoes. I glimpsed shapes moving in the shadows, figures too fleeting to identify, yet unmistakably present. Every echo repeated, stretching unnaturally, layering on top of itself, forming a haunting rhythm that pressed against my mind. I had to leave. The station wasn't just abandoned, it was alive, aware, patient. The trains, the echoes, the shadows, they were all part of a living, breathing entity beneath the city. And now, it had noticed me. I forced myself to keep moving down the platform, flashlight cutting through the thick darkness. The echoes of my own footsteps stretched unnaturally long, overlapping with faint metallic screeches, whispering voices, and distant clanks. Every sound seemed alive, responding to my movements, almost as if the station itself was breathing around me. I turned a corner into a long tunnel. The track stretched endlessly, disappearing into inky blackness. Shadows moved along the walls independently of the flickering lights, coiling, stretching, as if they had a will of their own. I caught glimpses of figures standing far down the tunnel, tall, shadowy silhouettes that vanished when I tried to focus. A train arrived, empty as before, sliding silently along the tracks. Its doors hissed open, revealing darkness inside. I approached cautiously. The faint smell of rust and oil filled the air, mixed with something else, something metallic, almost like blood. I glanced around. The echoes in this tunnel were sharper, layered, forming distorted whispers. Stay, follow, join. The train didn't move again, yet the shadows inside seemed to shift, as if aware of me. I could feel eyes, countless eyes, watching from the blackened windows. Another train arrived from the opposite direction, also empty, doors opening as if inviting me to step inside. My pulse raced. Every instinct screamed to leave, yet I couldn't stop moving. I descended a side staircase leading to a lower level. The air grew colder, heavier. Water dripped from the ceiling, pooling in rusted metal grates. Shadows danced along the walls, forming humanoid shapes that twisted and writhed, stretching impossibly. Echoes of footsteps, long gone, layered over my own, forming a haunting symphony that seemed endless. Deeper in the station, I discovered an abandoned control room. Rusted panels flickered faintly, wires hanging loose. Screens that should have been dead displayed faint, ghostly images of the tracks and platforms. Shadows flitted across the monitors, moving independently of the trains themselves. The echoes here were deafening, layered, overlapping, almost alive. I realized that the station wasn't just abandoned. It was sentient, feeding on sound, on attention, on presence. I moved cautiously through the tunnels. The farther I went, the more distorted the echoes became. Footsteps behind me, yet no one was there. Doors opening and closing down corridors, empty trains passing silently. Occasionally, I glimpsed pale figures standing on platforms, watching, only to vanish when I looked directly. The station was alive, aware, patient. A sudden, sharp screech rang through the tunnel. One of the empty trains had jolted forward, moving faster than it should have, its lights flickering. Shadows poured from the cracks between the cars, stretching and coiling along the walls. I stepped back, nearly tripping over a pile of debris. The echoes layered over themselves, forming whispers I couldn't fully understand. Do not leave, remain, join us. I tried to retrace my steps, but the station had changed. Corridors twisted impossibly. Platforms shifted. Tracks led in directions that didn't make sense. The echoes followed me, layered with distorted sounds of past passengers, long-forgotten workers, and trains that had never existed. The station was a labyrinth, alive and aware, reshaping itself to trap anyone who entered. I reached a platform where multiple trains now waited, empty and silent. The shadows seemed denser here, coalescing into forms that resembled people, tall, gaunt, their faces featureless, yet undeniably watching. The echoes intensified, every metallic clang, every whisper amplified into a deafening chorus. I realized with horror that the trains weren't just vehicles, they were conduits, vessels for the station's will. Suddenly, the echoes shifted. My own footsteps were duplicated, layered, distorted. Figures moved in the shadows, mimicking my movements, reaching for me through the dark. The station seemed to pulse in time with my heartbeat, alive with the rhythm of countless trapped souls, each step echoing endlessly. I understood, the longer I stayed, the more I would become part of the symphony, trapped in the station's eternal rhythm. I ran down the platform, desperate to reach the stairs. Trains passed silently on either side, doors opening to reveal nothing but darkness. Shadows reached out, stretching from corners, moving independently, pressing against the edges of my perception. The echoes screamed my name, layered and distorted, merging with whispers, stay, belong, remain. I stumbled onto the staircase leading to the exit, heart pounding. The echoes followed, bouncing off the walls, growing louder, twisting reality. I reached the top, gasping for air, and pushed open the heavy metal door to the street. Night air hit me like a wave. Silence, real silence, replaced the constant chorus below. But even as I fled, I knew the station hadn't released me. Its echoes were inside my mind, replaying every step, every metallic clang, every whisper. The abandoned subway station was patient, eternal, waiting for the next curious soul to descend into its darkness. The night above the city was calm, almost serene, but the subway beneath me throbbed with life, an unnatural life I could still feel vibrating in my bones. Even outside, I could hear faint echoes, metallic screeches, ghostly footsteps, whispers from the empty trains, all repeating in my mind, layered, unending. I ran down the street, heart hammering, trying to leave the station far behind. But the memory of its dark corridors, the endless platforms, and the faceless shadows haunted me. Every step I took was mirrored by echoes in my mind. The station hadn't released me. Its rhythm, its will, now pulsed within me, invisible yet persistent. The realization hit hard. The trains didn't just exist in the tunnels. They existed in the echoes. Any sound, any step, any fleeting thought could draw the station closer. It didn't need proximity to reach its prey. The abandoned subway station had extended its power beyond walls, beyond tracks, into perception itself. A sudden metallic screech behind me made me spin. Nothing. Just a shadow, or perhaps a memory of one, flickering at the corner of my vision. My breathing quickened, chest tight. I could feel the pulse of the station echoing through the city streets, a low, rhythmic vibration that matched my heartbeat. It was patient, waiting, eternal. I ducked into an alley, desperate to shake the presence. The whispers followed. Stay, belong, join us. I stumbled over debris, nearly falling, heart pounding. Shapes moved in the shadows, independent of the streetlights. They weren't solid, but they were real enough to make me flinch, echoes given form, shadows given intent. I had to escape, to leave the city itself, but even as I ran toward the outskirts, the station's presence seemed to stretch, unseen but unmistakable. I realized with horror that those who entered the abandoned subway station never truly left. They became part of its rhythm, layered into the endless chorus of metallic clangs, footsteps, and whispers. I had barely escaped, but the station had claimed me in some way. Reaching a busy street, I tried to focus on the normalcy, the distant honks, conversations, laughter. Yet even in this safe environment, I could feel the echoes pressing against my mind. Every metallic clang in my memory, every whisper, every shifting shadow replayed endlessly. The abandoned subway station was patient, eternal, and it waits for the next curious soul to descend. I paused near a well-lit cafe, gasping for breath. My hands shook, and my flashlight, still clutched from earlier explorations, flickered once before going dark. The thought struck me, it wasn't just the trains or the tunnels. It was the attention. The station could extend its reach through sound, through perception, through awareness. Anyone who entered became part of its symphony of echoes. Even now, hours later, I can hear faint metallic screeches when I close my eyes. Footsteps echo in empty spaces around me, and whispers flutter at the edges of my hearing. The abandoned subway station did not end with the tunnel, the platform, or the trains. It followed, invisible, patient, eternal. Its hunger never ceases. And I know it will wait. Waiting for the next person brave, or foolish, enough to descend into darkness, curiosity guiding their steps. The empty trains will arrive, shadows will stretch, and the echoes will call, layering endlessly until that soul, too, becomes part of the station's haunting rhythm. If this story sent chills down your spine, like, share, and subscribe for more abandoned locations, haunted tunnels, and supernatural tales where echoes trap more than sound, shadows never rest, and some places never forget.